Alhamdulillah. Testing, 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 testing. Testing, testing. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. الملك القدوس السلام المؤمن المهيمن العزيز الجبار المتكبر الذي له الأسماء الحسنى وصفات العلى. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد على آله وأصحابه ومن تبع هداه إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد. This is the 13th recording from the book Alaqeedah Alwaasitiyyah by Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala. And this explanation once again is by Shaykh Saleh ibn Abdul Aziz ibn Muhammad ibn Ibrahim al-Shaykh, the former Wazir, I can't remember if he's still the minister of Da'wah in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Hafidhahullah ta'ala. And once again, I'm not reading directly from the book. I'm reading mostly from the book, but sometimes I might leave out some things. Sometimes I might leave out some things because it's maybe too heavily related to linguistics or too heavily related to the Arabic language. And I don't. In my estimation, it's not appropriate to translate into English, or sometimes I might bring some information from some other books, and so on and so forth. So we ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to help us and aid us and give us success, to give us firmness, and to purify our hearts and actions. So we'll get into it, inshallah ta'ala. So Allah understand. In the last class, we covered a few different points. In the last class, we talked about some things that I want to revisit, inshallah, bi'ithnillahi azza wa jal. the Sheikh Hafidhullah was mentioning some general principles about the language, and in the last part he came to in the last portion, the Sheikh was discussing um, the different types of what's called a dhahir, and I wanted to revisit this because I mentioned something that perhaps wasn't totally appropriate, and that is that I used as a comparison, and I did say that the Quran should not be referred to as idiomatic, or so on and so forth. But nonetheless, I used the comparison. So I seek Allah Ta'ala's forgiveness and ask Allah Ta'ala to pardon me and have mercy on me. And I wanted to say that more apt, a more appropriate, something that would be more appropriate to say would be that this what's more appropriate to say barakallahu fikum is that it's like, for example, if you use the word sharp, the first thing that might come to your mind if somebody says this knife is sharp, this razor is sharp, these clippers are sharp, right? This sword is sharp. You're gonna a knife, a sword, something that's sharp and is good for cutting, right? I need a sharp kitchen knife. However, the word sharp can also be used to describe cheese, right? For example, sharp cheddar. This is sharp cheddar, right? So the Sheikh, he was explaining that sometimes the word is understood without much context, and sometimes the word is understood based on how it's used and the rest of the whole sentence and everything along with it, right? And I don't want to get too much into he called it al-haqiqa al-tarkibiyya and al-haqiqa another tarkibiyya and al-haqiqa subhanallah al-lafdiyya, al-haqiqa al-lafdiyya, right? And al-haqiqa al-tarkibiyya. So based on the word, the understanding that what's apparent is based on the word or based on how the word is used. And the word sharp here is neither, it's not metaphoric. If we say sharp cheese, it's not metaphoric. It's not metaphoric. It's not idiomatic or any of those other things. Right? It's simply that's how you describe cheese, and it has a meaning. Also, if you say the brother is very sharp today, the brother was very sharp today for Jumu'ah, or I saw the brother, he was very sharp. Maybe he has a sit down, as we say in the US. Maybe he has a sit down. I mean, maybe he has a meeting concerning marriage, right? Like this, the word sharp here has a different meaning according to the context, according to the entirety of the sentence. So I seek Allah Ta'ala's forgiveness, and because this, I don't want to get caught up in the concept of idiomatic and non-idiomatic, even though I did say, let's be clear, I did say that the Quran, we shouldn't refer to the Quran as idioms, or I'm not trying to compare it to idioms. I was just trying to make a comparison and be to the understanding and how. But in any event, this is a better example. The term, for example, the term sharp, right? When you're talking about knives, the term sharp when you're talking about barakallahu fikum cheese, right? And the term sharp when you're talking about the way someone is dressed, So that's a better example. Moving forward. The Sheikh al-Islam Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, من غير تحريف ولا تعطيل ولا ومن غير تكييف ولا تمثيل. This is a continuation where he says, ومن الإيمان بالله, right? Some of the belief in Allah. And as we know, the belief in Allah is different types of belief in Allah Ta'ala's oneness in worship, his oneness in actions, and his oneness and uniqueness in his names and his attributes. Right? Allah Ta'ala's oneness and uniqueness in his actions, his oneness and uniqueness in his right to be worshipped, and his oneness and uniqueness in his names and attributes. So part of the belief in Allah is believing in what Allah Ta'ala, believing in what Allah Ta'ala has described himself with, and what the messenger has described Allah Azza wa Jal with in the Sunnah. And Allah Ta'ala described himself in the Quran, right? And the Shaykh al-Islam, he goes further, he says, min ghayri tahrifin, without changes and alterations and exchanging meanings and so on and so forth. Wala ta'til, without negating. Wa min ghayri takyifin, without saying Allah Ta'ala is like this unique thing that I came up with in my imagination, that I invented in my Allah Ta'ala. No, without takyif. Wala tamthil, and without saying likening Allah Ta'ala to his creation. Right? Without any of these things. The Sheikh Salih ibn Abdul Aziz and Muhammad Hafidhullah Ta'ala, he says, ذكر شيخ الإسلام رحمه الله تعالى أن من الإيمان بالله الإيمان بما وصف بما وصف به نفسه في كتابه وبما وصف به رسوله. We talked about that. He says وقد شرحنا هذه الجملة, and the Sheikh explained this, right? وما يتبعها من قواعد مهمة. We talked about that. The Sheikh explained this, and he mentioned several different principles. He says, and the belief in Allah Ta'ala, belief in Allah, how he described himself, and how the Messenger of Allah, believing in Allah based on what Allah Ta'ala described himself with, and what the Messenger of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam described Allah with. Right? Those names and attributes that Allah Ta'ala mentions specifically in the Quran, and the names and attributes that the Messenger of Allah mentions in the authentic Sunnah. The Shaykh, he says, Hafidhullah Ta'ala, this Iman was claimed by many of the people who ascribe to the Qibla. This type of Iman that Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah describes was claimed by many people who ascribe to the Qibla. They turn to the Qibla in prayer. They claim this belief system. لكن دعوى الإيمان بما وصف الله به نفسه ووصف به رسوله. He says, but the claim in believing in what Allah Ta'ala, believing in Allah based on what Allah Ta'ala described him, how based on what Allah Ta'ala described himself with, and the names and attributes that the Messenger of Allah described Allah Ta'ala with. He said, since this claim is made by a lot of people, Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah mentioned, they stuck to specifying this belief with these texts, right? The text of the attributes. So this belief, right? The Ahl Sunnah stuck to the texts. They stuck to the texts. They didn't move away from the text. Allah Ta'ala said it, we say Allah said it. The Messenger of Allah said it, we say what Allah Ta'ala and his messenger said. We don't go beyond that. right? This is this belief is not a belief based on what an individual desires or what an individual's intellect brings him to. That's not belief. Rather, it is based on principle. It is based on principle. That the belief in Allah, this principle is that the belief in Allah, that this belief is based on the text that Allah Ta'ala used to describe himself, and that the Messenger of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam used to describe Allah without changing and altering, without negating, without saying Allah Ta'ala is this way and that way, using creativity, even though it's not like the creation, but you say this is a different, it's like this and like that. No. And without tamtheel, likening Allah Ta'ala to his creation. Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah avoid all of these things. They avoid all of them. فهناك محرفون يقولون نؤمن بالصفات. There are some people who change the meanings. They change the meanings of the names and attributes. They say, we believe in the attributes as they have come in the Quran and the Sunnah. لكنهم يحرفونها عن مواضعها. However, they change them. They change the attributes. They change them. فأهل السنة خالفوهم وآمنوا بالنصوص من غير تحريف. أهل السنة والجماعة, they opposed these individuals and they believed in the texts, the Quran and the Sunnah, that they believed in the attributes. ولا تعطيل, without negating them. ومن غير نعم. فأهل السنة خالفوهم وآمنوا من غير تحريف. طيب. وهناك معطلة عطلوا نصوص الصفات عن معانيها اللائقة بها. And there are some people who negated the characteristics, the attributes. They negated them. They negated the names or the attributes, and some people likewise the names, from their appropriate meanings. They negated them from Allah. وعطلوا الله عن الوصف الذي وصف به نفسه على كمال أولوه وحرفوه وتوجهوا به إلى معنى آخر. Right, and the Sheikh here is يعني kind of like subtly, or not so subtly, but mentioning the fact that it's different types of ta'til, and we're going to get to all this inshallah. But these people, either they negate, they deny the meaning, or they deny the name outright and say this is not this. They say this is not a characteristic, and this is not this, and this negation. The Sheikh, he says, they negated the nusus of the Allah Ta'ala's attributes from their appropriate meanings, right? Or they negated Allah Ta'ala, they denied those characteristics for Allah Ta'ala. The characteristics that Allah Ta'ala, attributes Allah Ta'ala described himself with, they negated them. And they changed them, and they went somewhere else with the meaning. فَخَالَفَهُمْ أَهْلَ السُنَّةِ. Ahl Sunnah opposed these people. فَآمَنُوا بِظَاهِرِ النُّصُوصِ. They believed in the apparent meaning of the texts without negating them. وَلَا تَعْوِيلٍ يَصْرِفُهَا عَنْ حَقَائِقِهَا اللَّائِقَةِ بِاللَّهِ. And without changing them from their meanings that are appropriate for Allah Ta'ala. Or they change them to a meaning that's inappropriate. كَذَلِكَ آمَنُوا بِالنُّصُوصِ مِنْ غَيْرِ تَكْيِيفٍ. Likewise, they believed in the text without takyif, without what's called takyif. Right? Which is, the Shaykh, he says, لأن هناك من آمن فكيف. There are some people that believed in Allah and they kayyafa. right? Meaning, فجعل نصوص الصفات مكيفة بكيفيات اخترعوها وابتدعوها في أذهانهم. They made the nusus in particular ways that they invented and created in their minds. Right? They explained the character Allah Ta'ala's attributes and said they are like this, that, and the third, of which they had created and invented in their minds. وَهَؤُلَاءِ يَزْعُمُونَ أَنَّهُمْ آمَنُوا بِالنُّصُوصِ. These individuals, they claim that they believed in the texts. لكن أهل السنة بيّنوا أن الإيمان لابد أن يكون من غير تكييف. However, Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, they clarified that the names and attributes, believing that this belief in Allah, His names and attributes, has to be without takyif, has to be without saying Allah Ta'ala is like this, that, and the third, that an individual invented and created and made up in his mind. وهناك أيضا ممثلة مجسمة مجسمة. There are also some individuals that explain they fell into what's called mujassama, tajsim, tamthil, and tajsim. The Sheikh, he says, meaning they believed in the nusus ala za'mihim. They claim they believe in the nusus. وجعلوا ظاهر النصوص يراد به أمثلة معروفة. They claim to believe in the nusus, and they claim that what's apparent from the nusus are things that were that they knew, right? So they said Allah's hand is like our hand. Yadullah ka aydina. A'udhu billah. Ayn Allahi ka a'yunina. Allah Ta'ala's eyes are like our eyes. We seek refuge in Allah. Sam'un ka sam'ina. His hearing is like our hearing, and so on and so forth. This is obviously falsehood. This is falsehood. That's fake, right? That's falsehood, right? That's right, baby. طيب. فزعموا أنهم آمنوا لكن آمنوا إيمانا فيه تمثيل. So they claim that they believed what their belief was called tamthil, which means they likened Allah Ta'ala to His creation. فإذن, the Shaykh, he says, إذن يكون إيمان هؤلاء الأصناف الأربعة يكون إيمان هؤلاء الأصناف الأربعة إيمانا مدعى. So these four categories, these four types, their iman is a claim. It's simply a claim. ليس إيمانا شرعيا. It's not the legislative and correct belief. It's not the legislative belief. فمتى يكون الإيمان بنصوص الصفات صحيحا? There's a question. The Sheikh, he says, when is the iman in Allah Ta'ala's attributes correct? When is the belief in Allah Ta'ala's attributes considered correct? The Sheikh, he says, the answer, إذا جمع هذه الأربعة. إذا جمع هذه الأربعة. If the belief contains these four things. أن يؤمن بما وصف الله به نفسه وما وصف به رسوله. That an individual believes in Allah, believes what Allah Ta'ala described Himself with. A person believes in those names and attributes that Allah Ta'ala used to describe Himself. And a person believes in those names and attributes that the Messenger of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam described Allah Ta'ala with. من غير تحريف, without changing and altering. ولا تعطيل, without denying, without changing and altering Allah Ta'ala's names and attributes, without denying Allah's names and attributes. ومن غير تكييف, without making up likenesses, saying Allah Ta'ala is like this, that, and the third, of things that you have invented and made up and created in your mind. وَلَا تَمْثِيل, and without comparing Allah Ta'ala to his creation. A person believes in Allah Ta'ala without these four things. Believes in Allah, and his names and attributes mentioned in the Quran and in the Sunnah without these four things. So a person believes in the texts without changing them. We believe in the texts without changing them. We believe in the texts without denying them, without denying Allah Ta'ala's attributes, without denying Allah Ta'ala's names and attributes. We believe in the text. وَلَا نُعَطِّلُ اللَّهَ عَنْ وَصْفِهِ الَّذِي وَصَفَ بِهِ نَفْسَهُ وَوَصَفَهُ بِهِ رَسُولُهُ. We believe in Allah's names and attributes as they come in the text, yani, and we don't deny them. We don't negate them. وَنُؤْمِنُ بِالصِّفَاتِ مِنْ دُونِ تَكْيِيفٍ لِهَذَا الصِّفَاتِ وَكَيْفِيَّاتٍ مَعْهُودَةٍ أو غير معهودة. We believe in the characteristics, the attributes of Allah, as they are mentioned in the text, without takyif, without saying Allah Ta'ala is like this and that and the third of what an individual can make up and create in his mind, whether those things are as they are known or unknown, yani as those characteristics, as whether they exist in the creation or don't exist in the creation, takyif, it's haram, all of it. وَنُؤْمِنُ بِالنُّصُوصِ وَلَا نُمَثِّلُ اللَّهَ بِخَلْقِهِ بَلْ نُنَزِّهُهُ سُبْحَانَهُ وَتَعَالَى. We believe in Allah. We believe in the nusus, and we don't liken Allah Ta'ala to his creation. Rather, in fact, we say that Allah Ta'ala is above the deficiencies of his creation. Right. The Sheikh, he says, this needs further clarification. Clarification of the meanings of these four words: التحريف والتعطيل والتكييف والتمثيل. التحريف والتعطيل والتكييف والتمثيل. Right? These words need to be further clarified. So after, inshallah, if I remember, after we finish all of the Sheikh's explanation of these different words, these four words, will come back to this, what the Sheikh just mentioned previously about believing in Allah, or the correct belief. When is the belief correct? The Sheikh, he says, أما التحريف فأصله في اللغة. The term التحريف in the Arabic language من الانحراف بشيء عن وجهه. Right? من الانحراف, it is from like turning away from something, turning away from facing something, or like this. وهو صرفه عن وجهه ومعناه إلى غيره. The Sheikh, he says, it is changing something from its direction or its meaning to something else. Right? وهذا تحريف بمعنى التغيير والتبديل. The Sheikh, he says, this the tahrif means a taghyir, to change or alter, والتبديل, to exchange. فيكون معنى التحريف التغيير والتبديل. He says, so the meaning of a tahrif, right, is changing and altering, exchanging, right? حرف أي غير وبدل. A person حرف, because the word tahrif is a masdar, what's called a masdar, and the verb for it is harrafa. So a person that engages in tahrif, you say harrafa fulan, right? So harrafa means ghayyara wa baddala. This word harrafa means to change or to exchange, to alter. قال عز وجل عن اليهود. Allah Ta'ala says about the Yahud, من الذين هادوا يحرفون الكلمة عن مواضيعه. Of those that were Jews, they changed the speech from its place. The scholars of tafsir, the Sheikh mentions, he says, في معنى هذه الآية, in this verse, they say pertaining to the meaning of this verse, يعني يحرفون ما أنزل إليهم عن معانيه اللائقة به. They changed what was revealed to them from its appropriate meaning. بل يخترعون له معاني من عندهم. The Sheikh, he says, in fact, or rather, they make up the meanings. They make up the meanings from themselves. فسمى الله هذا منهم تحريفا. Allah Ta'ala calls this what they did tahrif. Allah Ta'ala calls this that which they did tahrif. And in the footnotes, yani, this is a fa'idah. Ibn al-Jawzi mentioned that the tahrifuhum al-kalim, the action of the Yahud, the Jews, in this verse, there are three statements. تغيير حدود التوراة. They changed the rulings and the limits that were set in the Torah. This was mentioned by Ibn Abbas. The second, they changed the characteristics of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This was mentioned by Muqatil. And the third, tafsiruhu ala ghayri ma unzila. They explain the ayat in a way that was not intended. They explained the ayat in a way other than what they meant, what they actually meant. Right. The Sheikh, he goes on, he says, وَتَحْرِيفُ فِي النُّصُوصِ الصِّفَاتِ معناه, the tahrif in the tahrif in this subject as it relates to Allah Ta'ala's attributes means أن تغير أو تبدل ألفاظها أو معانيها عن ظواهرها. So tahrif, when it comes to the attributes of Allah Ta'ala, it means to change and alter the wordings or the wordings or the meanings of the attributes from their apparent meanings. Once again, it means to change and alter the meanings of the names and attributes from their apparent meaning. فإذا صرف ظاهر النص عن معناها اللائق به سواء أكان في اللفظ أو في المعنى فإن هذا تحريف لأنه تغيير وتبديل. The Sheikh, he says, حفظه if the apparent meaning of the text is changed from it, if what is apparent from the text is changed from its meaning, right, whether it is based on the wording or the meaning, if the wording is changed or the meaning is changed in order to change the meaning, because sometimes you can leave the meaning and you leave the word and you say but it means something else, which is what we witness from some individuals. They say the apparent is not what is intended, and they get elaborate and they get crafty and they mention ayat and and they play games and they play mind games and they play Jedi mind tricks on you, right? Until you You know it's nonsense, but you don't really have a way to counter it. So anyway, if what is apparent from the text is changed from the original, from the apparent meaning of the apparent and appropriate meaning of the text, whether it's by way of changing the word or simply the meaning and leaving the word as it is, this is called tahrif, because it is changing and altering. The ulama say التحريف من حيث هو في تعلقه بالنصوص الصفات أو غيره على قسمين. The concept of التحريف, as it relates to the texts of the Allah Ta'ala's attributes or other than Allah Ta'ala's attributes, is two types. تحريف في اللفظ وتحريف في المعنى. Right? Tahrif, changing and altering the word, the term, or changing and altering the meaning. Changing and altering the word or changing and altering the meaning. The Sheikh is going to explain. He said changing and altering the word, he says either it is by adding or subtracting. It is by adding or subtracting from the word. So a person actually changes the word, the shape, adds a letter, removes the letter, right? أو بتغيير حركة إعرابية أو بغير تغيير حركة إعرابية. This is so the Arabic word, the Arabic language has what we refer to in English as the people who study the Arabic language originally, they call these vowels, but they're not really vowels. They're harakat, dhammas, kasras, and fathas. When you change the dhamma, when you change the the subject, the verb, and the predicate in what we call subject, verb, predicate, just as a simple explanation, the subject, verb, and predicate is the English concept of a sentence. In Arabic, the sentence structure, whether it's a subject, a verb, or a predicate, specifically a subject or a predicate, subject or an object, changes with the word is defined. This word in the sentence, whether it's the subject or whether it's the object, depends on the harakat of the word, whether it's a fatha, dhamma, kasra, like this. Okay, so once again, this changing of the words can be with changing the harakat or without changing the harakat, right? So the Sheikh mentions a few things. Changing the word can be with adding and subtracting from the word, or it can be with changing the vowels on the word, or without changing the vowels on the word. That's one type of tahrif. Another type of tahrif, the Sheikh he mentions tahrifun fil ma'na, changing the meaning. The Sheikh he says يكون بتغيير معنى الكلمة عن معناها المعروف في لغة العرب. Changing the meaning of the word is by changing the meaning of the word from the well-known meaning in the Arabic language. So in the Arabic language, the words have, so just like in English, the words have specific meanings. Okay, the words have specific meanings. But when we come to just like in English, but when we come to the Quran and the Sunnah, right? Because as you notice, words change over time. Words change over time in English as well as in Arabic. However, when you're talking about the Quran and the Sunnah, the meanings don't change. You can't say this word has a meaning in this time and it's a new meaning, and it didn't have that same meaning 1,400 years ago. You can't do that. The meanings in the Arabic language are based on the explanations of the Messenger of Allah, the explanations of his companions, and the meanings in Jahiliyyah, the meanings before Islam, as well as the meanings right after the advent of the Messenger of Allah, right after the coming of the Messenger of Allah. And some of the scholars, they mention a sort of funny story about this issue, how the meanings have changed, and then people, they try to apply these current incorrect, really, meanings. They try to apply these meanings that they come up with to the Quran, and they make huge mistakes. For example, in Surah Al-Mu'mineen, Allah Ta'ala says, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. The word aflaha in the Arabic language, it means they're successful, right? They are successful. However, people have come to use the word aflaha to mean walla, yani dhahabu. The believers are gone, they have left. They are gone, they have left. So an individual came to one of the mashayikh, and he this is the meaning he had in his mind. Aflaha meaning, the incorrect meaning, they left, they're all gone. They bailed out, they bounced, right? Aflaha, they left. So he came to the sheikh and he says, Ya sheikh, aflah al-mu'minun, yani ma'ad fi mu'minin. The believers have all gone. Yani there are no meaning. Does this mean there are no more believers? See? He came with a modern day understanding of the word and tried to apply it to the Quran and made a huge mistake. Why? Because the meanings of the Arabic language have a basis. They're firm. In the Quran and the Sunnah, you can't come and be like, yo, this is a new meaning based on modern usage. No, you can't do that. Not when you're talking about Quran and Sunnah. Not when you're talking about Quran and Sunnah. When you're talking about local, colloquial, Arabic, and all of that, that's a whole different issue in terms of usage, right? But when you say you're trying to talk about deen, trying to talk about Quran and Sunnah, no, the words have specific meanings. So the tahrif al-ma'na, changing the meaning, is when a person comes and they try to say this word means something different, and this different of the meanings of the Arabic language, the language of the Arabs, right? In the time of the Messenger of Allah, and before that, and a little bit after that. طيب, the Sheikh, he says, النوع الأول تحريف في اللفظ, changing the word, changing the word. He says قد يكون تحريف في اللفظ. The Sheikh, he says the tahrif can be in the word by adding to the word, like the Jews did. كما فعل اليهود, like the Jews did. فإن الله عز وجل أخبر عنهم. Allah Ta'ala mentioned about them. In the Quran, he says, فَبَدَّلَ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا قَوْلًا غَيْرَ الَّذِي قِيلَ لَهُمْ. Those that were oppressive, they changed the statement to other than what was mentioned, other than what was said to them. And it was said to them, قُولُوا حِطَّةً. They were supposed to say حِطَّة. And they said, as is mentioned in the hadith, habba. They were supposed to say hittah. They said habbatun fi shair. They said habbatun fi shair. غيروا اللفظ. They changed the word. They changed the word from its original, from what it originally was. Oh, غيروه بزيادة, or you can change it by adding. كما روي أنهم, as is mentioned, they said حنطة. Instead of saying hittah, they added the n sound, the noon, and they said حنطة بزيادة النون. طيب. وكذلك فعل المعتزلة والجهمية والأشاعرة. Likewise, the action of the Mu'tazila, the Al-Jahmiyyah, and the Al-Asha'irah. These three deviant groups. And those like them. Kullabiyya, Maturidiyya, so on and so forth. طيب. When they explain the meaning of the statement of Allah, ثم استوى على العرش, then he rose above his throne. Allah Ta'ala mentions in the Quran about himself. Then he rose above his throne. Surah Furqan. Likewise, Allah Ta'ala says, Ar-Rahmanu ala al-arsh istawa. Ar-Rahman has istawa, yani ala al-arsh istawa. They said istawla. Instead of saying istawa, they said istawla. They added a lam. This is a tahrif. This is tahrif in the wording by adding a letter. فإن كلمة استولى ليس فيها حرف لام, because the word istawa does not have a lam in it. Istawa. The word istawa does not have a lam in it. فزادوا اللام فغيروا المعنى. They added the lam and they changed the meaning. They added the lam and they changed the meaning. And Ibn Qayyim, he has some poetry about this in his Nuniyya, and I'm going to read it and I'm not going to translate it. He says, أمر اليهود بأن يقولوا حطة فأبوا وقالوا حنطة لهواني وكذلك الجهمي قيل له استوى فبى وزاد الحرف فبى وزاد الحرف للنقصان قال استولى وذا من جهله لغة وعقلا ما هما سيان 20 وجها تبطل التأويل باستولى فلا تخرج عن القرآن قد أفردت بمصنف هو عندنا تصنيف حبر عالم رباني ولقد ذكر لنا 40 طريقة قد أبطلت هذا بحسن بيان هي في الصواعق إن ترد تحقيقها لا تختفي إلا على العميان نون اليهود ولام جهمي هما في وحي رب العرش زائدتان. Some poetry by Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala about this issue and his Nuniyya, and the sawa'iq that he mentioned was probably as-sawa'iq al-mursal, Allahu alam. طيب. The Shaykh, he continues كذلك قد يكون بنقص في اللفظ. The Shaykh, he says, likewise it can be with decreasing letter, decreasing the word, subtracting from the word. وقد يكون بتغير حركة إعرابية. This also can be with changing the vowels of the words, changing the vowels, the endings specifically of the words of the text. Like one Jahmi said to Abi Amr ibn al-Ala. Abi Amr ibn al-Ala, the Sheikh, he says he was one of the reciters and he was a grammarian and one of the scholars upon Sunnah. So this Jahmi, this individual that was a Mubtadi' Jahmi, he said, Ya Aba Amr, O Abu Amr, right? Ala taqra, can you not say Kallam Allah Musa takliman? Because the verse is Kallam Allahu, Kallam Allahu Musa takliman, right? He said, can you not say Kallam Allah Musa takliman bin nasb, right? غير حركة إعراب, meaning he changed the ending vowels. لأن القراءة, because the verses كلم الله الله, he said Allah, كلم Allah, that changes the meaning, as you're going to see. In the verse as it is correctly in the Quran, Allah huwa fa'ilul kalam. Allah Ta'ala is the speaker. Allah Ta'ala is the one speaking. Wa Musa fil i'rab maf'ulun bih. And Musa in terms of i'rab is the object in terms of i'rab. Alayhi salam. He's the one that's being spoken to. He says arada an yuharrifa bi taghyir harakatin i'rabiyatin. The person, this individual, wanted to change, he wanted to alter it by changing the ending verbs. Faqala, he said, Can you not read كلم الله موسى تكليما? Right? Can you not read it by saying كلم الله Allah instead of saying Allahu? Right? يعني أن له وجه, meaning that يعني isn't it a يعني possible perspective in the Arabic language? Right? يعني it's according to this mubtadi', this deviant speaker. لأن Musa, he said, because Musa, that and we get into it, we get into a little Arabic. The word Musa, it doesn't have an apparent ending verb. Musa, right? Sa, Musa, it's not going to change, right? No matter where it is in the sentence, right? So if you say kallam Allah Musa, Musa would become the speaker, and the one being spoken to would be Allah. So this alim, he said, Abu Amr ibn al-Ala rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, Habni qultu dhalik. Yani, let's say I agree. Yani, for the sake of argument, let's say I agree to what you said. And I read it as you mentioned. ماذا تقول في قوله سبحانه وتعالى? What are you going to say about the statement of Allah? كلمه ربه. In this verse, كلمه ربه, since the ha and the H sound in كلمه, who is like him. It's like saying him. So it is a ضمير متصل, which is similar to a object pronoun. So you can't now say that you can't now change the ending sounds to try to change the meaning. You can't do it in this case. So this individual was يعني overtaken, or this individual was, barakallahu fikum, outdone. طيب. He says هذا نوع تغيير حركة إعرابية, حركة إعرابية. This is a type of changing when you change an ending verb. ربما لجأ إليه كثير من الذين يزعمون أن عندهم علم بالنحو. He said perhaps يعني some individuals who claim that they have knowledge of grammar, knowledge of Arabic grammar, they will try to use this type of stuff. لكن مع ظهور العلم وقوته, the Sheikh, he says, however, with the apparent, with the knowledge being uppermost, or with knowledge being apparent, and يعني a person being strong in knowledge, بطل ذلك منهم. يعني specifically this scholar, he was able to refute this individual. He says وقد يكون تحريف بلا لفظ. He said the changing and altering can be without changing the word, without adding or without decreasing, without adding or without subtracting from the word, right? And without changing the ending sounds. He said it can be changing the word without changing any of these. And he mentions in the previous example, Kallam Allah Musa, because like the word Musa, he says, في مثال السابق كلم الله موسى أراد أن يجعل موسى المكلم. So in this verse, Allah Ta'ala spoke to Musa, right? The word Musa doesn't have a ending verb. It doesn't an ending vowel. The word Musa has no ending vowels. So he wanted to change Musa. In this case, he wanted to change Musa without adding to the word, without adding a letter, without removing a letter, without changing the harakat, the ending vowels, right? So he changed Musa from it being the object of the sentence, the one being spoken to it being the subject of the sentence. And this is not, the Sheikh, he said, this is not an issue of changing the ending vowels. طيب. وكذلك في هذا الذين يحرفون الكلام فيجعلونه بمعنى آخر لفظ كذلك يدخل في هذا He says also included in this are those that change the speech, and by changing the meaning, they change the speech, they change the texts by saying it means something different. مثلا, like for example, في قوله سبحانه وتعالى, in the statement of Allah, قال يا إبليس ما منعك أن تسجد لما خلقت بيدي. Allah Ta'ala says, speaking in the Quran, speaking to Iblis, Ya Iblis, what has prevented you from making sujood to that which I have created with my two hands? Allah Ta'ala says in the Quran, that I have created with my two hands. And of course, Allah Ta'ala's hands are unique to him, because Allah Ta'ala is unique, therefore his hands are unique. His that is unique. Allah Ta'ala himself is unique, therefore his characteristics are unique, and his hands are part of his characteristics, his attributes, so they are unique. طيب. These individuals, they say يجعلون معناه, they say the meaning of yaday is قدرتي أو قدرتي أو قدرتي. They say the meaning of yaday, two hands, is two powers, or his power, or his two abilities. This is tahrif al-lafz. This is changing the word. فهل هو من جهة المعنى? Is it based on changing the meaning? Al-jawab la. He says no. بل جعلوا لفظا مكان لفظ. He said they left the word, but they changed the meaning. Yani they changed a word for another word. They left the original word, but they said it means something different. يقولون اليد هنا القدرة. They say that the word hand means might or ability. وليست اليد المعروفة. And it is not hand as is the well-known meaning in the Arabic language. And of course, Ahl Sunnah do not say that Allah Ta'ala's hands are like the hands of his creation. طيب. The second meaning of a tahrif, in fact, we'll stop here, inshallah. We'll stop here. Bi'idhnillahi Azza wa Jalla. We ask Allah Ta'ala to give us success, to help us, make us sincere, to rectify our affairs, purify our hearts, to aid us and guide us. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.